In a small, sunlit village surrounded by lush green fields, lived a brave young girl named Amina. With her long, dark hair and bright, curious eyes, she often dreamed of adventures beyond the hills that cradled her home. Amina was known for her lively spirit and gentle heart. However, her dreams clashed with the traditions of her village, where arranged marriages were common. As the only daughter of a respected family, Amina felt the weight of her future pressing down on her shoulders. Her father had already chosen a suitor for her, a man she had never met. The thought of being bound to someone she didn't know filled her with dread. While other girls in the village accepted their fates with quiet resignation, Amina yearned for freedom. She wanted to explore the world, to chase butterflies in meadows and climb trees under the endless sky. Each day brought her closer to the wedding, but deep down, Amina knew she could not let this be her only story. With determination bubbling inside her, she began to consider a daring escape that could change everything. As the days passed, Amina's heart grew heavier with the thought of her impending marriage. In her mind, she envisioned rolling hills where she could run freely, and sparkling rivers where she could splash and play. The idea of being tied to a life she did not choose felt suffocating. Each evening, when the sun dipped below the horizon, casting beautiful hues across the sky, her dreams would come alive. She imagined herself as a brave explorer, wandering through forests filled with mysteries and wonder. Amina shivered at the thought of wearing a bridal gown, forgetting how to climb trees or dance in the rain. Instead, she dreamed of discovering distant lands and meeting people from all walks of life. The stories whispered among villagers about daring adventurers fueled her imagination even more. A pull toward freedom clutched at her heart like vines around a tree trunk. While other girls sighed with acceptance, Amina's spirit refused to be crushed. She could almost hear the call of the wild beckoning her to take a bold step into the unknown, seeking a life of adventure instead of one of confinement. As the wedding day loomed closer, Amina's heart raced with a mix of fear and excitement. The village was buzzing with preparations, bright decorations adorning every home. But for her, it felt like a cage closing in. Each day brought another reminder of the life that awaited her, a life she desperately wanted to escape. On the night before the wedding, Amina made her decision. Under the cover of darkness, she crept out of her family's home, the stars twinkling overhead like tiny guides urging her onward. Every step crunched softly on the earth as she passed familiar paths, now filled with both hope and dread. She thought of her dreams, of the adventures that could await her beyond the village. With a deep breath, Amina promised herself she would not let fear hold her back any longer. She had to be brave. This was her chance to break free from the chains of tradition. Her heart pounded as she made her way toward the edge of the village, fueled by courage and determination to create a new path for herself, far from the constraints of an arranged marriage. Amina hurried through the familiar paths of her village, her heart pounding with each cautious step. The cool night air filled her lungs, but she didn't pause to admire the stars. She knew the forest ahead would be her refuge, yet it also held unknown dangers. As she entered the dense trees, the shadows seemed to close in around her, and every rustle in the underbrush made her jump. Navigating through the thick brush, Amina stumbled over roots and rocks, her feet aching from the effort. She fought back tears, reminding herself of why she was doing this. Suddenly, she heard voices in the distance. Her father's voice mingled with others who were searching for her. Panic surged through her as she pressed on, pushing aside branches that whipped against her skin. The forest was dark and disorienting, but Amina focused on moving forward. She climbed over fallen logs and ducked under low branches, determined to put as much distance between herself and her village as possible. Exhaustion pulled at her, but the thought of freedom fueled her spirit, guiding her deeper into the woods where she hoped to find safety. After what felt like an eternity in the dense forest, Amina stumbled upon a wide path that led her to the edge of a bustling frontier town. The sounds of life, laughter, shouting, and the clanging of metal hit her like a wave. She paused for a moment to take it all in, her heart racing with both hope and trepidation. This place was alive with energy, but Amina knew it was also filled with uncertainty. As she stepped into the town, colorful tents and wooden stalls greeted her. Vendors shouted to attract customers, their wares displayed like treasures under the sun. Yet amid the vibrant atmosphere, Amina felt small and vulnerable. She had left behind everything familiar and now stood in a world where anything could happen. The faces around her were unfamiliar, some kind and some wary. Amina sensed that not everyone would welcome a stranger. With each step forward, she felt a mix of excitement and fear. This could be a fresh start or another challenge altogether. Swallowing her anxiety, Amina took a deep breath and reminded herself that she had come this far in search of freedom. Now was the time to be brave once more. As Amina wandered through the frontier town, she was captivated by the lively atmosphere that surrounded her. The streets were filled with people of different backgrounds, farmers, traders, and travelers, all mingling together, their laughter and chatter creating a vibrant symphony. Colorful fabrics fluttered in the breeze, and exotic spices filled the air with tantalizing scents, far different from her village's simple life. In her hometown, life had been predictable and quiet. Amina often dreamed of adventure but felt constrained by tradition and expectations. Here, in this bustling town, opportunities seemed endless. Merchants offered goods from distant lands, and performers entertained crowds with music and dance. Amina felt a spark of hope igniting within her as she observed this mix of cultures. Yet, amid the excitement lay an undercurrent of unease. She knew that not everyone in the town would view her as a welcome guest. Strangers could be both friends and foes. With each new face she encountered, Amina realized that while this place offered freedom, it also came with its own set of challenges. She had to navigate this vibrant world carefully, seeking out allies who would help her on her journey. As Amina wandered through the bustling streets, a sense of hope filled her heart until she overheard a conversation that shattered her dreams. Two women stood by a stall, their faces marked by worry as they whispered about the dark reality of the frontier town. Amina paused, her stomach twisting as she listened intently. They spoke of a grim practice where women were sold to the highest bidder, often ending up in lives far worse than the ones they had escaped. The joy she had felt moments ago began to fade, replaced by fear and uncertainty. Amina realized that the freedom she sought might come with hidden dangers. No longer just an adventurous escape, her journey now felt perilous. She recalled the stories of girls who had been lured into forced servitude, their hopes crushed in a world that often exploited the vulnerable. Amina's heart raced as she processed this new information. She had fought so hard for her freedom, only to discover it might slip away just as quickly if she wasn't careful. Determined not to fall victim to this fate, she resolved to stay vigilant and seek allies who could help her navigate this treacherous landscape. Amina sat on a bench in the bustling town square, her heart heavy with the weight of her situation. The vibrant market around her felt like a cruel reminder of her newfound reality, filled with laughter and joy that contrasted sharply with her anxiety. She couldn't shake off the chilling thoughts of being sold again, trapped in a life where her dreams would shatter once more. With each passing moment, fear gnawed at her insides. How could she navigate this town without falling prey to those who would exploit her vulnerability? The stories she had heard echoed in her mind, tales of girls who were taken and never heard from again, their hopes extinguished like candles in the night. Amina realized she couldn't let herself become another victim. She had fought too hard to escape her past. Determined, she began to formulate a plan. She would seek out trustworthy individuals who could guide her in this foreign world. Perhaps if she listened closely, she might overhear something that could help her find safety. Amina steeled herself for the journey ahead, knowing it would require every ounce of courage she possessed. As Amina wandered through the town, her eyes caught the warm glow of a small shop nestled between two larger buildings. The sign above read Marla's General Store, and the inviting scent of baked bread wafted through the door. Hesitant but hopeful, Amina stepped inside, where she was greeted by a kindly shopkeeper named Marla. With her gentle smile and twinkling eyes, Marla seemed to radiate warmth and understanding. Noticing Amina's anxious demeanor, Marla approached her and offered a slice of freshly baked bread. As they chatted, Amina shared her story of escape and the fears that haunted her. Marla listened attentively, nodding with empathy, and offered practical advice on how to navigate the town safely. Later that day, Amina met a wise old woman named Alara sitting by the fountain. With silver hair and deep-set eyes that sparkled with knowledge, Alara had an air of mystery about her. She spoke in riddles about trust and strength, urging Amina to believe in herself. The two women became crucial figures in Amina's life, guiding her through her turbulent emotions and helping her understand the importance of making wise choices in a world full of uncertainty. Inspired by the kindness of Marla and the wisdom of Alara, Amina began to craft a plan that would help her navigate the dangers of the frontier town. She decided that stealth and observation were key to her survival. Each day, she would explore different parts of the town, paying attention to where events took place and which streets were busier than others, ensuring she learned the layout thoroughly. Amina noted which shops had friendly faces and which areas appeared more dangerous. She identified places where women gathered, sharing stories and laughter, potential allies who might offer support. Amina also made an effort to blend in with the local customs, learning the way people spoke and interacted so she wouldn't draw unnecessary attention to herself. By keeping her ears open for rumors and whispers, she hoped to uncover any information regarding those who engaged in selling women. With every detail she learned, her confidence grew. Amina reminded herself that although obstacles lay ahead, her determination and resourcefulness would light the path forward. Her dreams were still alive within her heart, and she was resolved to safeguard them at all costs. The atmosphere in the frontier town grew tense as Amina's fears resurfaced. She had spent days carefully observing her surroundings, but whispers of danger now felt more real than ever. While wandering through the market, she noticed two men speaking in hushed tones near the entrance of a tavern, their eyes scanning the crowd. An uneasy feeling settled in her stomach as she considered that they might be involved in the very practice she sought to avoid. Amina's heart raced at the thought of being captured and dragged back into a life she had desperately fled. Trust was a fragile thing in this world. She reminded herself that even friendly faces could conceal dark intentions. She thought of Marla and Alara, two women who had shown her kindness, but she knew she needed to remain cautious until she fully understood whom to trust. Determined not to be caught off guard, Amina decided to approach a group of women gathered around a stall selling colorful fabrics. They seemed friendly, laughing together as they shared stories. She steeled herself for the moment, knowing that every choice could impact her fate and deciding carefully who would become a part of her journey toward freedom. Amina's heart raced as she observed the suspicious men eyeing her from across the market. She had gathered enough information to realize they were part of a group looking to capture vulnerable women. In that moment, fear morphed into resolve. Amina would not let herself fall into their hands. As she calculated her next move, she spotted Marla and Alara in the distance, engaged in conversation with a few townsfolk. Gathering her courage, Amina dashed towards them, but the two men noticed her sudden movement and began to follow. She could hear their footsteps pounding behind her, and her mind churned with quick ideas. With a sharp turn, Amina ducked into a narrow alley, knowing the town's layout could be her advantage. She sprinted to a nearby stall, grabbing a handful of vibrant fabric and tossing it over herself to disguise her appearance. Breathing heavily, she pressed against the cool wall, peering around the corner to see if the men had lost her trail. Drawing on her bravery, Amina decided to confront them head-on. It was time to use her wits. As they approached the alley, she stepped out and shouted loudly for help, drawing the attention of nearby vendors and townsfolk. She had chosen to fight for her freedom rather than hide. This was her moment. As Amina shouted for help, the commotion attracted the attention of nearby townspeople who rushed to her aid. The suspicious men hesitated, and in that moment, Amina saw her chance. The crowd quickly surrounded the men, demanding to know what they were up to. With her heart pounding, Amina pointed them out as threats to the safety of women in the town. Marla and Alara stepped forward, lending their voices to support Amina's claims. The townsfolk rallied together, fueled by a shared sense of justice and community. With their combined strength, they confronted the men, forcing them to flee in fear of being caught. This turning point ignited something within Amina, She realized that she was not alone and that solidarity could bring about change. Inspired by this victory, she decided to take action beyond her own safety. Amina began organizing gatherings for women in the town, sharing stories and forming a network of support against exploitation. Her bravery had not only liberated herself but also sparked hope among others. Amina's journey toward freedom had transformed into a mission to empower those around her, marking the beginning of a new chapter in her life full of purpose and resilience. Amina stood in the town square, surrounded by the women she had rallied together, their laughter and voices filling the air with hope and strength. Reflecting on her journey, she realized how far she had come, from a young girl trapped by tradition to a fierce advocate for freedom and empowerment. The challenges she faced had shaped her resilience, teaching her that bravery comes in many forms. With each gathering, the bond among the women grew stronger, transforming fear into a powerful force for change. Amina's heart swelled with pride as she recognized that they were no longer alone. They were united in their fight against exploitation. She had turned her own struggle into a way to uplift others, proving that one voice can ignite a movement. As she looked toward the future, Amina envisioned a community where every woman felt safe and valued. Her dreams had evolved beyond simple freedom. She now aspired to create a world where bravery and solidarity flourished. With unwavering determination, Amina stepped forward, ready to continue her journey with purpose, knowing that together, they could forge a brighter path for all.